Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, your home for all content Lord of the Rings home. Today we're going to be talking about how to get 1.5 million points in Chapter 1 with your Rivendell Elves. So Chapter 1 difficulty 4 with Rivendell Elves, how to get that maxed out. And the structure of the video is we're going to go through the strategy, which comes from a community member, Dwarf. He basically laid out some things that he does to get 1.5 million points. That sort of shifted my approach to Chapter 1 difficulty 4. And I found that I was able to more consistently get better scores, but also eventually get a max score. So we'll go through the strategy first, and then we'll go through my account and we'll talk about kind of what you need, what you don't need, what you could probably get away with. It essentially is a sliding scale of RNG. So like the less of these things that you have, the more RNG you're going to need. And then, the more upgrades you have, the more consistent it's going to be. And then at the end, we will go through some footage, that footage of me getting that max run that I took like a week and a half ago, I want to say. Down in the pinned comment below, I'm going to try and compile and put a few other people's videos on how to get, just over 1 million in difficulty 4 with a variety of different teams. We're using Rivendell with Naramiri here because I think that is the most accessible option, the one that a lot of people are going to be having. You can do it with other things like Rivendell. And there are other teams, Rohan, for instance, that can get 1.5 million as well, but that's kind of what we're going to cover here. So I'm going to put those videos down below in a pinned comment. So let's just get right into it. Basically, Dwarf says it is very RNG dependent, and I agree with him there. Essentially, you want to set up a very perfect wave 1 and then also a pretty perfect wave 2, and then things can either go well from there or you just end up resetting, which is the story for a lot of different chapters in the raid, especially if you're trying to like really max min points, right? So wave 1, all of the orcs attack, right? I don't think they have just like, they don't like spawn in with just like additional turn meter. I think they're actually faster. So what that means is I'm going to give you a piece of general advice then when approaching difficulty 4 is that anytime an orc has like, the orc bomber has like, is in the don't rush me state where you can put stacks on him, you need to be attacking him. That's pretty much always going to be the case. You need to be able to get those 4 stacks on him right away. It's not going to be the case for the wave 1 as I'm going to describe to you, but outside of that, you do not have time to do support skills. Basically, you just need to be putting stacks on him. So wave 1, after all the orcs go, use Elrahir's special 1 on the bomber. That puts a stack on him. It also puts might on Elrahir, which will be important for a little bit later on. Naramiri special 2. This is her heal. And the whole goal here is that you want to get stamina to Elrond. Arwen basic on bomber, Eladin basic, or special 2 if he gets some stamina, and then the Elrond wave. And the reason you want Elrond to get stamina is so that he can wave his first turn. If you don't get that, reset. Okay. Another reset condition is if Elrond doesn't really slow anybody down, right? So you can already see that there are a few things you probably need that would make things more consistent. You don't need to have Naramiri special 2 maxed out, but when you do, it gives 2 stamina instead of 1 to the Rivendell team. And also, you probably, the higher stars you have on Elrond, the more consistently you're going to be able to slow multiple characters in difficulty 4. So that's another thing you probably want to have to make this more consistent. He says ideally you want Bone Crusher, Drummer, or the Mangler to have slow. But if you have anything less than 2, it's probably worth resetting. I think that from my testing, that's basically what I found as well. 2 characters is usually pretty good. And it's, again, just to bring the orcs down to a manageable speed that your Rivendell team is probably used to in difficulty 3. So now that you have might on Elrahir from his special 1 that first turn, you're going to use his special 2 on Shadowseer. And this is the big change here for me especially. I was continuing to focus on Skull Crusher because they do so much damage in difficulty 4. I just wanted to get them out of there, and I did not want them to have the opportunity to put slow on my team again because they are faster. But it turns out that's less consistent. And actually what you should be doing is going for Shadowseer because you want to avoid the Shadowseer healing the whole team up and not being able to get down from the bombers. So you got 1 bomber down, put a bunch of damage into everybody, right? And then you're trying to finish off the Shadowseer with Elrahir's special 2, finish him off with Naramiri. In the footage I'm going to show you, I had to use somebody else as well to sort of finish him off. There's a lot that can go wrong here in this step right here. But ideally what happens is that the drummer then brings in another full health orc, and then you can stack up stuff on the new bomber, and you can basically take everybody else out again. Once you take everybody else out, you've got this wave 2 that's spawning in, and he says if you get multiple bone crushers or war guards, you should probably just restart. So I agree with that. And that's where a lot of the RNG comes into this too. So wave 1, you've got several restart conditions. You don't get stamina to Elrond. You don't slow multiple orcs. And also, if you can't kill that Shadow Seer fast enough in the back, I think those are all pretty big reset conditions. Also, sometimes the drummer or the Shadow Seer can give stamina to the Skull Crusher, and he can slow your team again. I also think that's a reset condition. And then wave 2, when you kind of clear everybody out, wave 2 reset conditions are definitely just multiple Skull Crushers, multiple War Guards. And there's some other ones that might just screw you, but those are, I think, the easy to identify ones. So with that, let's switch over to the game here. Maybe. There we go. Little lag. Let me pull up my elves. Okay, so things that I think I've seen people do this with 5-star Elrond. I think you pretty much need everybody else 6-star or 7-star, but I've seen people do it with 5-star Elrond. Obviously, you want higher stars on Elrond because that means he's going to be able to, 1, survive longer. The Skull Crushers hit really hard, but 2, you're going to be able to apply more slows. So you can do it with 5-star. You can try it out. Maybe, this is something where you can get 1 mil to 1.2 mil if you're really trying to get that last Gandalf shard to sort of min-max there if you want. Some other skills I think you need, but don't necessarily, well, you don't need, but I think make things easier. Something I mentioned previously, maxing out Naramiri's Special 2, you get that additional stamina to 1 additional random ally. That's helpful. That means you basically have a 2 in 4. So you have So you have 50% chance essentially to get to Elrond, and that just cuts down your reset conditions by basically half when you're just starting off on that wave 1. So that's pretty important. Oops. And then I think Elrahir basically should be maxed out. You need kind of his damage to take care of that Shadow Seer in the back. I think that's really important. One thing I don't think you absolutely need, but that I do think is relatively helpful, is actually a maxed out basic on Arwen. Just because this grants defensive, right? Block the enemy, next hit from an enemy attack. And you actually do want to use her basic pretty frequently just so that you can get these defensives out to people, and especially the most wounded squad member, and your team has the capability to survive a lot longer. Even with a fully G9, 7-star Elrond team, you're still getting whacked really, really hard, and your survivability is really challenged. So this defensive does add a little bit. Now let's talk about gear. Stars are more important than gear, but I definitely think G9 does make a difference. And so you probably want G9 on characters that you need to have them on. So if you have a lower star Elrond, then you probably want to put G9 on Elrond, or even higher, just to give him that extra amount of survivability. I think taking Eladin to whatever gear level you can, high as you can, is also a good idea. Probably same with Elrahir. Arwen and Naramiri, not as much. You can focus less on them, but I do think Gear 9 might be something you want to consider. I haven't seen it done with Gear 8, unfortunately. But obviously stars play a lot bigger role, and the less you have of this stuff, the more RNG it is. And I would say it took me about an hour with this elf team to kind of get what I wanted. Dwarf says that on his weekly average is about an hour as well, so take that into consideration. All right, let's look at some footage of a run, and then we'll just wrap it up. So here's my team from I think I took this a week or two ago, 60k power. I just showed you my elves. There's basically no change since then. Can we skip ahead? There we go. Okay, so basically the first part of this is just the orcs going through all of their attacks because they are faster. Arwen, really critical here because she can give out, one, she can give out those nimbles, but two, her special 2 is also really, really important. Then yes, I also think that her basic is also very important. So we did the Elrahir special 1, and then I believe the War Drummer went. So this is something that can really throw you off if they're able to successfully kind of push back turn meter for a very key character. Okay, we got stamina to Elrahir, not ideal. You prefer one of these two. And then also to Elrond, which you need. And then we can't use special 1, so we're just going to put an attack into the drummer, or sorry, the bomber, and then the wave. We slowed the Skull Crusher, the Mangler, and the Fire Starter, which is, it'd be more ideal if the Fire Starter was maybe not as slow. I mean, it's if all of them are slowed is more ideal, but War Drummer is also a really good one to have slowed. And then Arwen Basic. So the Shadow Seer basically goes next, summons in a new orc bomber, right? And now you're sort of racing against the clock because you need to be able to kill this Shadow Seer before one, the bomber starts the Don't Rush Me, and also before the Shadow Seer gets another turn and heals everybody up, right? Okay, not ideal. So now we do Elrahir special 2. Don't quite finish him off. Don't quite finish him off with Naramir either. That's okay. And now we're going to finish him off with Eladin special 2. There we go. So now we're waiting for the bomber to get the Don't Rush Me. And next, the War Drummer is going to summon in somebody here. The idea here, though, is that if the War Drummer is summoning somebody in, they can't really give stamina to anybody else. And you should be able to clear the Skull Crusher before they're able to get off another slow. Okay, so just doing some healing. And now we have to go all in here on the bomber. Another special 1. Basic from Naramiri. Shadow Seer can't heal their first turn, I don't think. Again, you saw there, I did a basic. I just need to get stacks on the bomber. And now the wave 2 is coming in. And we have 1 War Guard, 1 bomber, and no Skull Crushers. So I feel okay about this. Another reset condition for me often was if I had multiple bombers that were basically going to start at the same time, especially if you don't have Eladin's special 2 or Elrond's special 2 up, that can be really, really hard to manage that. Oop. Oh, it's lagging. So now I'm just going to try and get the Shadow Seers out because those are really, really dangerous and annoying in this particular chapter. So again, just going into the bomber is going to be more important now because I know the War Guard is going to taunt next as well. Luckily, we have her special 1 up, which is something I think you should save for this particular situation, actually. And there's another bomber. Okay, so now we got a little bit of time to heal. Stamina to Arwen, stamina to Eladin is not the best. I prefer going to Elrond in any capacity. Okay, heal. And now the bomber is going to go pretty soon here. And again, it's just same thing. I think I do a basic here just to make sure that this guy stays alive and is killed by the bomber in a minute here. Because you need all of those extra points. Ooh, not ideal. And this is why you need to take the Shadow Seers out. One thing you can do, though, and this ended up working for me essentially, right, is that you can sort of stagger the waves, and so then things become a little bit more manageable. So again, we got 2 War Guards here, but I'm going to deal with it, and a bomber in the back here. So now I think I want to just do your special 1. Yep, get everybody up again. And that the reason I'm using Naramiri's special 1 there, even though nobody has Banes, is so that it puts it on Eladin. And this is also the reason why I put Eladin in that sort of leader slot at the beginning, is so that when there are no Banes, he gets extra protection and counterattack. Okay. Things are not looking so hot here. What can we do? We're stuck behind 2 taunts. But again, we got lucky in that we had our special one ready to go. Not ideal there. Probably should have just basicked. That's okay. So now we're over a mil. So I think this is even just a success basically there. And now we still have 2 war guards, we have 2 drummers, and we have 2 bombers, which is really not an ideal situation. And Eladin is pretty much almost toast, but they spaced out the bombers enough that like I can unload into this one. I'm going to be able to do a special 2 here. How am I going to slow? Okay, just 1 person, whatever. I can't even heal because I can't even risk healing. Okay, that's what we need though. That's where a double bomber situation is okay. I got 2 AoEs off. And that should be it. Boom. Okay, so just as simple as that. But it took me basically an hour to get to that, and there is definitely still RNG, even though I have 7-star G9, 1 G10 on this team. It's that RNG dependent. If you have less than this, it's obviously more RNG dependent, but you can do it. So if you're looking to really, really min-max, you can do that. I know people love spending time min-maxing in Chapter 1. So that's how you do it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll post those videos down below as well in the pinned comments. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.